Hello and Assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Kashif Kamran. A very warm welcome to the Advanced Audit and Assurance webinar to success for June 22 exams. This is the day one and the second part of the day one. Now, we were discussing a study approach in the first part and how effectively can you utilize the 18 days remaining ahead of your exams on the 6th of June. Now, in the second part, we need to focus on few more important things so that you really have a very good idea of how you would be preparing yourself for the upcoming exams in June. Now, in the second part of the day one, after we have considered in the first part, the checklist you should be implementing for the next 18 days and the need of a self-appraisal, because that's extremely important that everyone conducts a self-appraisal to know where he or she is standing ahead of the exams coming up. Now, this was the study approach we built up in the first part, and that's exactly what is to be done on a priority basis over the next 18 days. You can add more things to this checklist, but this is a recommendable checklist at a minimum and at a priority, which is to be set up for all of you. So this is the checklist for every student, and you need to ensure you tick the boxes, ensuring that you've done everything here in this checklist to be better prepared for the upcoming June 22 exams. Now, looking at this study approach, the very first thing I would like to discuss on the second part of the day one is how to organize yourself. Because a lot of time in the last 18 days, you need not to be panicked. And if you are disorganized, your resources are disorganized, you don't know where things are, you will waste a lot of time finding. If you have not downloaded things, you have not taken a printout of things, you have not organized a folder on the laptop, or you have not organized a folder as a box file manually, you will be wasting a lot of time. So honestly, in the next 24 hours, ensure that the right study approach comes into a folder. So if you have a proper folder for a right study approach, whether this folder is on a laptop or this folder is a manual folder, like a file folder, a physical file, whatever you like to have, because some students like to read on the computers, some like to take a printout of materials. Now you need to organize yourself. That's the key thing, right? But what should be in the folder? Number one, the technical articles. The technical articles I have recommended you today to read. I think there were roughly like 10 to 12 articles which I recommended you to read in the first part. So please ensure those technical articles are either put in the folder as a PDF file, or you are taking a printout of them and maintaining them in the folder, in the manual folder. So technical articles, the one I recommended you to read, should be in the folder, whether that's an electronic folder or that's a manual folder, whichever you prefer. Previous webinars, you should have the 3 previous webinar hyperlinks in the folder. You should have the resources used in the 3 previous webinars as a printout. I use the Word file in every webinar, right? And those Word files, the printout of those Word files are either put in the manual folder, or the PDF of those Word files are put in the electronic folder. So the previous webinars, the 3 webinars I have recommended you, please ensure the support files of the webinar are taken as a printout or are saved as PDF on the electronic folder. The CBE practice platform, please ensure your link of CBE practice platform is saved on your laptop, so it's easy clicking on the link and reaching the CBE practice platform. The CBE practice platform, I recommended you all that you should be looking at the past papers, practicing the past papers on CBE practice platform, the 2021 papers and the 2020 papers. Only the March 20 paper is to be done on the blank workspace. And more importantly, the mock exam. which is available on the practice platform. But along with the practice platform, you need to put the examiner answers for the recommendable papers. Either you take the printout of examiner answers, or you save them in a PDF form in your electronic folder, and the examiner reports. Either you take a printout of the recommendable examiner reports, or you save them as a PDF file on your electronic folder. I think I've recommended you 4 examiner answers, right? And I've recommended you 4 examiner reports. So that's what you need to take a printout of or save them as PDF. But on the practice platform, when you are attempting a question, you should have the answer with you, and you should have the examiner report with you, because that will really benefit you. I will be demonstrating how you can make use of the examiner answer, examiner report, and the practice platform together when I do an exercise on day 2 and day 3. But the critical element here is organize yourself. How many of you do this organization electronically on your laptop? And how many of you go with the printout versions? Can you share your answers? How many of you do this organizations as a folder on a laptop and you save everything you need for AAA at one place? Okay, you do a laptop electronically, most of you. Printouts, one student. Okay, laptop, iPad. Okay, so most of you go with these electronic saving of resources at one place. But if you do that, that's good. So organizing yourself is very, very important. So most of you like to read the articles in a PDF form on the laptop or on the iPad. That's good. That's really good, right? And some of you take printouts as well. So that's totally up to the student how you go with it. I recommended 4 examiner reports, right? Sanosh in the first part, September, December 21, then March, June 21, then September, December 20, and March 20. I recommended 4 examiner reports and the 4 examiner answers, right? The marking scheme I recommended were 2, right? So please ensure that the study approach which has been shared with you, that is organized in the next 24 hours. Because if you organize the study approach in an effective manner, you are not wasting your precious time over the next 18 days. So sit down today, evaluate yourself, self-appraise yourself, see what the tutor has guided you about what to do in the next 18 days, see the resources you already have, see are there any missing resources, and organize yourself. So in the next 24 hours, if you organize yourself according to the tutor, you do the self-appraisal, and everything gets in an organized manner, you will be in a far better position to attack, and then you are not wasting any time. I hope you will all follow this organization of technical articles, the previous webinars, the CBE practice platform, the examiner answers, and the examiner reports, because that is all what needs to get down in the folder on the left-hand side of the screen, whether again that's an electronic folder or a manual folder. Most of you are going with electronic versions, either on laptop or iPads, which is wonderful in the digital era we're living in. Okay, now moving towards the last thing for the day 1, and a very important thing is to look at any changes or new articles which you should be aware of. Now, this is important that when you're preparing for June exams, you are familiar with any changes which has been brought in by ACCA. Are there any changes? Yes or no? If there are any changes, are you familiar with that? And secondly, is there any new articles which you should be familiar with? Even though I've mentioned in the part 1 that there is no new article for the June 22 exam. So there is no fear factor of reading any new article, any specific article which was published in the last 2 to 3 months. So no new article has been published in the last 2 to 3 months. So there is no new article for the June 22 students. So that should be a big sigh of relief for all of you. Let's move on. Let's see any changes where you should be familiar with. Now, you must be knowing, I've been covering this in my December 21 webinar and in my September 21 webinar, if you've watched them, that ACCA introduced some syllabus changes to the AAA paper from September 21 exams. Now, that is quite old now. But these changes were brought from September 21. We had September 21 exams. We had December 21 exams. we had March 22 exams. We have 3 exams right after the changes have been brought in. And you are appearing for the June exam, which is the 4th exam after the changes have been brought in. So the changes are important, and the changes have been covered in my previous webinars as well, which is in December and which is in September. I hope you have an idea of that, because you should be familiar with the changes and how they impact the exam paper, how the changes impacts the question number 1 or the section B. You should have a realistic idea of that. Now, there are 3 changes as per the syllabus: D1, D2, and G2. Now, we know D is a syllabus area which relates with planning, right? D is the syllabus area which relates with planning, and planning is a syllabus area which comes in the question number 1. I hope you're familiar with that from the first part of the day 1 today. So D is a syllabus area which impacts the question number 1, the section A. Now, G is a syllabus area which is about current issues. And we know the current issues only becomes important for the June exams only if the examining team writes a new article on the current issue, and the examining team has not written any new article in the last 3 months. So current issues are not relevant for you currently, but there were changes which were brought in current issues. But because there is no new article for June, the area of current issue will be ignorable, will be a big cross for all of you appearing for the June 22 exams. But you should be very, very familiar with D1 and D2, and how is D1 and D2 impacting the students in September, December, March, and now you in the June 22 exams. Are you clear with this summary before we move on into D1 and D2? Are you all clear? And how many of you have watched the December 21 webinar for these changes? How many of you are familiar with these changes from my December 21 webinar? Can you just respond with yes or no? Are you familiar with these changes from my December 21 webinar? Yes or no? Okay, so lots of yes, but there are some no's as well. So it's quite strange. June exams are just 18 days away, and you're not familiar with these changes, because these changes were covered in my September 21 webinar, then in the December 21 webinar. And even to my registered students, I did recommend it that once you complete the course, you should watch the December 21 webinar. Have I've put a clear message in the WhatsApp group that after you've completed the course, you should watch the December 21 webinar. I hope you will be watching it. But I am also putting the emphasis of the changes again in my June 22 webinar, just to ensure that you are familiar with the changes and how will they be impacting. So no current issues, right? So we're just focusing on D1 and D2, which is the planning area impacting the question number 1. Okay, D1, syllabus changes, what it means for you. It has already been tested in September 21, December 21, and March 22. And what it means for you now in June 22. It's pretty simple. Since September 21 exams, examiner is now using a terminology, significant. Now, when you even look at the September, December 21 paper, I hope you've seen the September, December 21 paper, which I will be showing you tomorrow. It also says, evaluate the significant audit risk. Now, this terminology, significant, is the change which was brought from the syllabus area D1. The introduction of the terminology significant and what really significant means. Because if you look at the old past papers, examiner used to say evaluate audit risk, evaluate risk of material misstatement. But now in the recent papers, since the changes have been brought in, examiner is using a jargon, evaluate significant audit risk or evaluate significant risk of material misstatement. So how will the answer change with the addition of the word significant? Now I have a drill on this tomorrow, day 2, because I will be solving the question number 1. for September, December 21, right? And in the September, December 21 paper, the question says evaluate the significant audit risk. So I will be explaining what exactly significant is, and I will be demonstrating how significant impact the answer of audit risk. Is there a significant impact on the answer, or is there not a significant impact on the answer? That is something I will be discussing upon in the session tomorrow, day 2. But the syllabus area D1 is where the examiner has brought the terminology significant. And I've already done videos on that. Learning outcome D1 in relation to the evaluation of risk requires you to evaluate and prioritize risk. Significant risk, right? That is the terminology being used in exam paper. So syllabus area D1 now requires you to evaluate and prioritize the risk, significant risk. This reflects the requirement of ISA 315 revised around the determination of significant risk in relation to the spectrum of inherent risk. Watch my videos on the YouTube channel for understanding video number 1 and video number 2. I've already done 2 videos on significant risk. So you can watch the video number 1 and you can watch the video number 2. The hyperlinks are given and they are on my YouTube channel. So you will be able to understand what exactly is a significant risk and how it will be impacting the answer when you're writing an answer to audit risk and to the risk of material misstatement. If the examiner says evaluate the significant risk, how will that change the approach of your answer? The way you write the audit risk will remain the same. The way you identify audit risk remains the same, but the way you prioritize them is important. And I will be guiding about that tomorrow. I just want to show you one thing here, more specifically. If I can show you my YouTube channel. I hope you can see on the screen my YouTube channel right here. Please confirm that if you can see it now. Can you all see my YouTube channel in front of your screen? Great. Now, if you look at my YouTube channel and the very first line of the videos here, right? If I can just show you the very first line of videos here. Can you see the first line of videos here? The first row of videos. Can you see this last video here? The last video, significant audit risk, a 40-minute video, which is just explaining the term significant and just explaining how the term significant impact the answer. Just a 40 minutes video, which you can even watch today after the session ends. Is that clear to all of you? So this is the 40 minutes video on significant audit risk. That is one of the video, right? That is one of the video I've done on significant audit risk. Then you scroll down, you scroll down and down in the second row, in the third row, and in the fourth row. In the fourth row, you will find another video here, which is this. That is a 1-hour video, and that was done 8 months ago. 8 months ago, when the changes were brought in. 8 months ago, when the changes were brought in. New article, risk and understanding the entity. This was a new article at that point in time. No more a new article. But at that point in time, this was a new article. And I did a video on that. But because this article explains the terminology significant, what is the meaning of the term significant? So this is a 1-hour video, and the other one is a 40 minutes video. So cumulatively, roughly 2 hours. 2 hours of your investment is worthful. So I've already done my 2 videos on what exactly a significant risk means. And the session tomorrow itself will be wonderful, because I will be explaining what a significant risk is by taking the question number 1 of the September, December 21 exams. I hope you're all ready for that. So I would prefer that you watch the video before the session tomorrow, so you have a mindset of a significant risk. No, this is available on my YouTube, right? So you need to watch it on the YouTube, because see, there is not a remarkable impact on the audit risk answer, but there's just a slight impact on the audit risk answer. And you will be able to understand that through the 2 videos and the session tomorrow. So are you all eagerly waiting for the session tomorrow's, where I will be doing the question number 1 specifically, significant audit risk. I will be explaining you the term significant audit risk, and you will be amazed how easy it is to tackle the word significant. So what is the addition of the words significant, right? So if you look at the old questions and the new questions have a terminology significant. So how would you answer a question when the question says significant audit risk, right? Just let me give you one good example here. Taking on my Word file, I hope you can see the Word file for day 1 on your screen now. And we go down and we're looking at the changes, right? Okay, let's go down the next page. And on the next page, if we look at the changes in the syllabus since September 21 exams, sorry. So one of the changes is the syllabus area D1, and that's pretty simple change, not a complex one. And in this change, the very first change is D1. Examiner is using the terminology, open inverted commas, significant, close inverted commas, with audit risk and risk of material misstatement since September 21 exams. Now, how does the addition of the term significant impact or change your audit risk or risk of material misstatement answer? That's what I'm looking for, right? How does the addition of the term significant impact or change your audit risk and risk of material misstatement answer? I hope you are more interested in this. So the change is what? The change is that you now need to evaluate significant risk. So look at this example. Old paper and recent papers since September 21, and old papers prior to old papers. In the old paper, the examiner used to ask you evaluate the audit risk, for example, right? Now the examiner is saying evaluate the significant audit risk or the risk of material misstatement, right? Question mark. Now, in both cases, you were evaluating, right? Because that's quite a common term we have in the AAA paper, evaluate. But with evaluate, you are evaluating the audit risk in both cases. But what is the difference? What is the difference between the old paper requirement and the new paper requirement? The word significant. This is the change. This is the big change. And you need to ensure that how this change is impacting your answer for June 22. And I will be demonstrating that, drilling that tomorrow. Is everyone clear? So I will be giving you the answer of what significant is and how it will impact your answer. But please ensure you watch the 2 videos on significant on my YouTube channel, right? Watch the 2 videos recommended on my YouTube channel for understanding the term significant. Is that clear? Will you all be doing that? Waiting for your answers. Is everyone clear with the syllabus changes D1? So it's just a terminology, right? But you will get a very good answer tomorrow on significant. I have just made a mnemonic for significant, and it's just like 1 minute and you understand it. That is exactly the time we need to understand significant. And you will be amazed when I structure the answer looking at significant terminology in exam paper. It's just like 15, 20 minutes and you will be settled down tomorrow with the term significant. Is that clear? How many of you were familiar with this term significant and you've watched the December 21 webinar? How many of you were familiar with this understanding before? Can you just say familiar, not familiar in the answer? Okay, good. Okay, so those of you who are not familiar, has this webinar benefited you? Have you got some guidance to watch the YouTube videos? Have you got the guidance to watch the December 21 webinar? And have you got interest in coming back for day 2 tomorrow? That's great. Okay, moving on. The syllabus changes D2. Let's see what is the syllabus change D2. So one of the syllabus change was D1. The other change is the D2. So let's see what is the syllabus change D2. The syllabus change D2, if I go back to my presentation, right? See, I've already mentioned here, I already examined in the September 21 exams, significant, and we will be doing that tomorrow. Syllabus changes D2. The learning outcome in relation to the automated tools and techniques, particularly data analytics, has been extended this year. And I've already done a video on data analytics. Data analytics came in the AAA paper, I think 1 year ago. And 1 year ago, the examining team wrote an article on data analytics, right? And that was like a knowledge article. I hope you know this article on the website of ACCA. If I can show you this article. Can you see the articles in front of your screen, everyone? The technical articles? This is quite an old article, right? Which is written on data analytics. And that was a high current issue for old students. Right? Can you all see the current technical articles in front of your screen? Please confirm that. Okay, thank you. You scroll down and you will come across an article here, which is titled Okay. Can you see this article coming under covers multiple areas? Data analytics and the auditor. Can you see this article here? Data analytics and the auditor. This is quite an old article because I think when I did a video of this, that was like 1 year ago. I did a video on data analytics and the auditor. That is quite an old article. And if I can just show you the video of the same on my YouTube channel, I hope you can see the YouTube channel back on screen. And if you look at my YouTube channel and you skip the first row, you skip the second row, you skip the third row, you skip the fourth row, you skip the fifth row, you skip the sixth row, you skip the seventh row, you skip the eighth row, you skip the ninth row, you come to the 10th row, 11th row, 12th row, and in the 13th row. 1 year ago, I did an article, data analytics and the auditor. See, it's right here. See, it's such an old one. Data analytics and the auditor. I hope you can see it right here. Data analytics and the auditor, right here. 1 year ago, almost like 6,000 people have watched it. So this is quite an old phenomena, which was in the AAA paper, but that was knowledge. Examiner expects knowledge of data analytics 1 year ago. But now, since September 21 exam, something have changed, which I need to draw attention to. So if I go back to my presentation, just give me 1 minute. Okay, if you can see the presentation, so the data analytics and the video of data analytics is right here. But how that knowledge article on data analytics have transformed to September 21 exams and onwards. The introduction of the learning outcome D2 requires the ability to evaluate and interpret the results generated from these techniques, both at the planning stage and at the evidence collection stage of the audit. So you need to evaluate the results presented to you in a form of data analytics or in a form of data analysis in the question number 1. And I think in one of the exam paper, that was September 21 paper, it's not published. The published paper is December 21. I think in the September 21 paper, the feedback I got from the student was that they were presented the result in a form of a graphical presentation for perhaps receivable days or inventory days. They got a graphical representation of inventory days, a graphical picture. So you might be given results in a form of a graph. You might be given a result in a form of a bar chart or a line chart. And you need to evaluate, okay, what is going up and what is coming down. You might get, examiner might give you the current ratio over 5 years going up and coming down. Examiner might give you the inventory days over 3 years going up and down. And you need to assess, okay, what is the risk inside inventory days rising and falling? So the results might not just be presented in a form of a financial statement, which you are familiar with. I hope you all agree that in the question number 1, we do get results in the form of a financial statement, yes or no? Do we get results in the form of a financial statement of a current year and a prior year? Have you seen that most of the time in the first question? Are you familiar with that? Waiting for your answers. Yes, that's quite common, right? In the first question, to see the financial extracts. One of the exhibit in the question number 1 is the extracts of the financial statement, right or wrong? Right? But is there only one way of presenting the results? What if the examiner presents you a result more graphically? Examiner can examiner give you a graph, something like this? Just give me 1 minute. Just give me 1 second. If I can just show you, even I've covered that in my previous webinars, but just want to show you financial results using dashboard. Can you see this in front of your screen, everyone, on your screen? Can you see this? Right, I just type on the Google financial results using dashboard, because the dashboard is what is known as data analytics, right? Look at this. Examiner might give you results this way, graphically, right? Examiner might tell you how much payable days are outstanding, 30, how much day sales are outstanding, 25. So examiner can give you results graphically instead of giving them in the form of a current year financial statement and the last year financial statement. See this picture here. Examiner can tell you what is the cash balance and can give you a graphical image of a cash balance going up, down over the last few months. And you can assess whether the company is facing a liquidity problem or not. So presenting results graphically is data analytics, because this is data analysis, right? I hope you agree with me. This is analysis of the data. When you present the data graphically, is that what is known as data analysis? A graphical representation of result is known as data analysis. True or false? True. So can examiner present the results graphically? Yes. So you should not take it as a shock. I think it has come in September 21 paper, but that is not published. But that was the feedback of the student. I think they got the inventory holding period in a graphical form. So you might also get that in the June 22 exams. So please don't take it as a shock. I've already covered the examples of a graphical dashboard. Yes, you will not get marks for calculating ratios if the ratios are already calculated. But yes, you will get marks for identifying the risk. You will get marks for commenting on the risk, but definitely you will not get marks for calculating ratios then. Very good question, Sarah. I've already covered this, right, in my previous webinars. I've given examples of what you call the dashboards. So if you can watch my December 21 webinar, and I hope those of you who have watched my December 21 webinar must have seen examples of this in my December 21 webinar. Yes, these are simply numerical figures, graphical figures. You just need to look at the graphical picture and say, oh, what's the risk in this graphical picture? What is rising? What is falling? If the receivable days are rising, what's the risk? If the cash balance is going down, what's the risk? So you need to relate the graphical pictures with risk. So that is what the examiner wants this. Look at this here. Look at this here. Bullet number 3. Bullet number 3. You may be presented with results of these techniques in a variety of formats. Have I shown you the variety of formats just on the Google? And asked to consider the results specifically or to utilize the results as part of planning the work. So you might be given results in a variety of formats. It might be a chart. It might be a pie chart. It might be a bar chart. It might be a line chart. But you need to consider the results. You need to evaluate the result. What is the risk? You can watch my video on the dashboards right here. See my video on the dashboard. I've done a video on dashboards. So lots of productive videos, right, already on YouTube, which you can benefit from. So if I can just show you that again for one last minute, if you can go back to my YouTube channel and can you see this video on my YouTube channel here? All of you. Just 1 minute, sorry. Can you see this video on my YouTube channel showing you the dashboards? Just let me highlight that for you. Can you see this video showing the dashboards, financial dashboards? Right. So there are productive videos. And the best thing is that in my presentation, I have given the hyperlinks. So you can just copy the hyperlink in the browser and you reach the destination. So what is the examiner expecting from you in the syllabus changes D2? That's pretty simple. The examiner is expecting from you that for syllabus changes D2, I hope you can see the word file. Financial results in question number 1 may be presented in the form of a dashboard, like using graphs, bar, lines, or pie charts. And the students need to evaluate or interpret the results using the graphical images and identify the relevant risk of material misstatement. So definitely you will not get marks for ratio calculation, but you will get marks for risk. And we know every risk is worth 2 marks. If you find a risk from interpretation of results, that risk is worth 2 marks. Relevant risk of material misstatement. Is that clear? D2. And will you be watching my videos? Note, watch recommended videos on how such results can come in exam paper, because there is no actual paper, right? There's no actual paper available. So you can watch my recommended videos on how the results can come in, recommended videos on how such results can come in the exam paper on my YouTube channel. Is that clear? Everyone sound with D2? So you should be familiar with the changes. These are not new changes, right? These changes came in September 21. You're preparing for June 22 exams. So that's like the fourth exam sitting since the changes were brought in. But you should be familiar if you were not. Is everyone clear? Should we move on? Are you sound clear with the changes being brought into the syllabus area G2? So presenting results graphically. The last change, current issues. Syllabus area G2, we know G is current issues, right? Syllabus area G means current issues. Examiner expects that whenever the examining team writes an article on current issues, you're familiar with that. But currently for June exams, there is no current issues. Additional learning outcomes have been added to the current issue section of the syllabus in relation to the audit reforms and the impact of the global events. Examiner has not yet written an article on audit reforms. He might write it in the next few months, but currently for June, there is no article on audit reforms, nor there is any article of the impact of the global events on audit practices. Examiner has not even written an article of the impact the COVID had on audit practices. So is there any article by the examining team on audit reforms? No. Is there any article by the examining team on impact of global events on audit practices? No. Can they come for September exams? Yes. But for the June exams, that's a big no. So examining team expects that you should have awareness of audit reforms and awareness of impact of global events on audit practices. But we know this awareness has to come through an article. So there is no article currently. So till the time the examining team doesn't write an article on the awareness, you are not expected to get anything on that in exam paper. So no current issues, right, relevant for at least the June exams. They might be relevant for September. Now the big $1 million question. What about the previous current issues? Should you be knowing the previous current issues? Can the examiner come back with some marks on the previous current issues? Let's see, yes or no. You go back to the technical articles. I hope you can see the technical articles on the screen. Please confirm that. Can old current issue come back in June? There is no new current issue, right? We have a big no. But what about the previous one? Can they come back as a surprise? And you might be shocked sitting in the June 22 exam hall. Can you see the articles in front of the screen? Please confirm. Okay, thank you. You go down, syllabus area G. Can you see the syllabus area G here? I just click on it and I'll reach the syllabus area G. Now in the syllabus area G, look at the articles they have. There is an exposure draft on the proposed revision in code. Now that is already, that was already a current issue in the previous exam settings. I've already done a YouTube video on that, and that was already examined. But can it come back again? Should you have knowledge of that? Again, I would prefer yes. You should watch the video on the proposed revision to the code on my YouTube channel. Audit in a computerized environment. Specific aspects of auditing in a computerized environment. What I believe is these two articles here. Just let me highlight. These two articles here have been taken from the F8 paper. So I don't find any relevance of that coming to P7 currently or AAA currently. But the first article, which is on exposure draft, was a specific AAA article in the previous exam settings. Can something come back from the exposure draft? Yes. On a safe side, should you know about it? Yes. But auditing in a computerized environment, I think if you know data analytics, if you have read the article on data analytics, if you've watched my video on data analytics, I think that would be perfect. So what I would prefer here is that you read this article here, exposure draft on proposed revision, and you read the article on data analytics. Just let me take you back to my Word file, putting more articles there. I hope you can see the Word file back on screen. I'm just adding one more article to the list of 10. I'm adding an article, exposure draft, proposed revision to the code. And I'm adding another article, audit data analytics and the auditor, data analytics and the auditor. I don't want you to take any risk. And the good thing is that both of these have been done on my YouTube channel. Exposure draft, revision to the code, and data analytics. I would prefer you take them as old current issues which can still be surprise for June exams. Could be, I'm not sure. I'm not the examiner. And same goes with data analytics, old current issue, but could be a surprise for June exams. So I'm adding these two here specifically. So the list of the articles now goes to 12. And just to ensure that you are not wasting time, I've already done my session on exposure draft. Just give me 1 minute. I hope you can all hear me right. I'm just putting the hyperlink of this. This is the hyperlink of the article, right? I hope you can watch this article here. Exposure draft. I've already done a video on the exposure draft, so it's better to watch than to read, right? That's number one. Number two, data analytics and the auditor. So you go back to my just 1 minute, sorry. Just need to frame things up for you so that you get a better allocation of things. Okay, data analytics and the auditor could be a surprise element. I've posted it here. Can you see the Word file now in front of your screen with everything put in? Can you all see the Word file with the number of articles now reaching 12? So why have we put the 2 articles in the bottom? To be on the safe side if any current issue from the old exam setting gets retested. So to be on the safe side, number 11 and number 12 is to be read and watched. So now the list of articles is down to 12. We started building up the list in the first part of the day 1. Now in the second part of the day 1, the list have gone up to 12. Is that clear to all of you? But is there any new current issue for June exams? No. Why are we doing the last 2? Just to be on the safe side. We don't want any surprises which can badly hit a student on a day of exam. I hope we should take a more risk-averse approach rather than a risk-seeking approach for a AAA paper. I hope you're all clear with this. Let's move to the last thing and wrap up. So the syllabus changes. D1 will be having a proper exercise of that tomorrow. Significant audit risk. If you are still not clear about that and how the results can be presented in a dashboard form, you can watch my videos for that because there is no exam question available for the results to be presented in a dashboard form. Okay, the last thing and wrapping up the session. Something which can't be done on the other days is something known as time management in the AAA paper, which I believe is the biggest reason why students fail the AAA paper. The most common reason of failure, if you investigate 10 failures, 9 failures will have one common characteristic. They failed to complete the 100% paper. And that's a serious challenge. Now, I've been discussing time management again and again in every webinar I have done. And I have given a threshold of time management if you have ever come across my previous webinars. But I would like to reshare that because some of you might have ignored it, miss it, and you should know the time management. Now, there are 2 situations of time management which I would like to discuss with you. Let me copy those 2 situations to save my time. Okay, can you see the 2 situations now? I will read and make you understand. Number 1, situation 1. If you start paper in order, like question number 1 first, then 2, then 3, and you're very sure you will start with question number 1, irrespective of what is asked in the question number 1. So there are lots of students which goes with 1, 2, 3 in order. So if you know that you have to go in order, without deciding which question to do first. A lot of times the student takes 5-10 minutes in deciding which question to start with, right? But a lot of times the student says, no, I will do paper in order, irrespective of whatever happened. Can we do paper out of order? Yes. Do the examining team recommend that? Yes. But if a student says, I want to do paper in order, 1 to 3, and you're very sure of that, then how much time you have? You have 195 minutes, right? Which is 3 hours and 15 minutes. Agree? You have a total time of 195 minutes. Now, ACCA recommends, and that is a better rule of thumb, that 1/4 of the total time in the paper is for reading and planning. So I've just taken the 1/4 of 195 minutes. 1/4 of 195 minutes is 49 minutes. I've just rounded it off to the nearest decimal. And 3/4 of the time in the ACCA paper is for writing. So the writing time becomes 146 minutes. So you have 49 minutes to read and plan the whole paper, and you have 146 minutes to write. Now, technically, that means 146 minutes to write. And how many marks I have to write? 100. So how many minutes per mark I have? I have 1.46 minutes a mark, but I would suggest lower it so you don't come under time pressure. You should keep 1.4 minutes a mark. Note it down, please. 1.4 minutes a mark. Do the practice at home in the next 18 days on 1.4 minutes a mark. Now, when you have 146 minutes of writing time and 49 minutes of reading time, I have just divided that in question number 1, 2, and 3. Can you see this? Question number 1, 2, and 3. So for the question number 1, you have 25 minutes of reading and planning time and 73 minutes of writing time for question number 1. For the question number 2, you have 12 minutes of reading and planning time and 36.5 minutes of writing. And the same goes with question 3. And that makes a total to 49 minutes and 146 minutes. So this is an ideal time management you can follow if you are willing to start the paper in order. 1, 2, 3. I hope you're all clear with this. Any other time management might be risky. So please ensure at least you practice this time management in the next 18 days. And at home, if you are able to complete 85 to 90% of the paper, that's good. Because in exam, it might be better than that, because exam pressure is different from the home pressure. Is that clear to all of you? Are you clear with the situation number 1? If you are going in order of the paper, is that clear? The time management? Okay, good. Look at the second situation. If any student don't want to start paper in order, because ACCA recommends that student can do paper out of order. They can do question number 3 first or 2 first, whatever. And they even suggest that the student who starts with the strongest question first has a better passing rate. A very good theory. A student who starts with the strongest question first has a better chance of passing the AAA paper. This is what the examining team tells us every time. Now, if you go with that philosophy and you say, okay, I'll not start the paper in order 1 to 3. I'll start with my strongest question first. Strongest question first means, Sanika, whichever you know the best. You have to read the requirements of every question, right? You have to read the requirement of the question number 1, 2, and 3 to find which is the strongest one, which is the best one you are at. Because Sanika, till the time you don't read the requirements, how would you know which is the strongest question? Are you getting my point? So you have to read the requirements of the 3 questions first, and then think which is the best one. Yes, that's perfectly fine. You can do the risk question first and the reporting question last, because ACCA suggests you can do paper in any format, in any order. But there are certain students who do the paper in order 1 to 3, right? 1 to 3, right? So if you go with 1 to 3, this was the time management. This was the time management with 1 to 3 on the screen. But if you want to go in any other order and you want to decide which question you should do first, should you do question 2 first? Should you do question 3 first? Should you do question 1 first? Then what will happen? Situation number 2. If you take 5 minutes in exam context to decide which question to start first, your net time will be 190 minutes. I hope you agree with me. Because you need 5 minutes to read the requirement of the question number 1. Yes or no? You need 5 minutes to read the requirement of question number 2 and question number 3. So in total, you need 5 minutes, right? So you will open the question number 1, read the requirements. You will say, oh no, that's so scary. Close it. You open the requirement of question number 2 and you find them very soothing. And you open the requirement of question number 3 and you find them the most soothing. You say, okay, I'll start with question number 3 first. But in reading and choosing which question to start first, how much time have you wasted? Tell me. Not approximately 5 minutes. Approximately 5 minutes. I think it's doable in 5 minutes. Are you getting my point, everyone? Are you getting what I'm trying to tell you in the second situation, all of you? Please confirm. Are you getting my point, everyone, in the second situation? That you read the requirements of question number 1, 2, and 3 in 5 minutes to decide which requirement is soothing to start first with, or which question is soothing to start first with. Is that clear to all of you? I'm waiting for your answers. Okay, thank you. Okay. Now, if 5 minutes are wasted in deciding which question to start first with, then how much time are you left with? You are left with 190 minutes. Now, I've just divided 190 minutes. 1/4 is the reading and planning time. 1/4 is the reading and planning time, so that's 47 minutes. And 3/4 is the writing time, so that's 143 minutes of 190 minutes, right? So there is a slight deduction. Now, question number 1 to 3. Now, again, the question number 1 remains the same. See, the time you had for question number 1 in situation number 1 was 25 and 73. You still have the same time for question number 1, 25 and 73. That remains the same. But the impact will come on 2 and 3. For question number 2, you had 12 minutes and 12 minutes in the first situation. Now you have 11 minutes and 11 minutes to read them. And you had 36.5 minutes to write them. Now you have 35 minutes to write them. So there is a slight reduction in the time you had for question number 2 and 3. So total is 47 and 143. So if you spend 5 minutes in choosing which question to decide first, you will get a slightly less time to tackle the question 2 and 3. The time for question number 1 remains same in both the situation. Now you need to decide whether you want to go with 190 minutes or you want to go with 195 minutes. Whether you want to go with question 1, 2, and 3 in order and not wasting 5 minutes, or you believe, okay, I'll waste 5 minutes, but that will help me decide which is the best question I should start first with. Because ACCA says the students who starts with the best question first have a fair advantage of getting better score. Now it's totally up to you. Are you clear with this time management scheme, everyone? Are you clear with how we have divided the time in reading and planning and everything? Are you all clear with it? Okay, that's great. So will you stick to this in the next 18 days? Will you try implementing this in next 18 days? Because that's more important, right? Okay, so then that is the summary for the day 1. We spent time on time management. We spent time on the changes in the syllabus D1, D2, and any current issues relevant for the June exams. We build upon a list of the most repetitive accounting standards and almost a list of 12 repetitive accounting standards, and then a list of 12 articles you should be exploring over the next 18 days. So that sets the word file of day one, which will be shared with all of you. Don't worry about it. And secondly, the presentation will also be shared with you, right? Just one last thing. So this was the day one where we spent time on the study approach, what you should do in the next 18 days, the organization, knowing about any new article, knowing about any syllabus changes, which articles to read, which accounting standards to revise, and at the end of the day, the time management. I hope you got some productive learnings which will really be beneficial to you in the next 18 days. And I hope you liked the day one. If you can just drop in your feedback quickly. In the meantime, I'm just wrapping up the day one proceedings. How was the day one today? That's more important. If I can just get your thought process on that. And the day two tomorrow will be very, very important because we will be entering in the September-December 21 question paper on the day two and on the day three. We'll be using the practice platform, number one. We'll be taking a look at the marking scheme, number two. We'll be taking a look at the examiner report, number three, and I will be guiding you about the best way to write an answer in the limitation of the time. So day two and day three both have the same agenda. We are exploring the question paper September-December 21 with examiner report, with the practice platform, with the marking scheme, and lots of tips and techniques, which will be an eye-opener for all of you. Okay, that's very great. Thank you so much for your feedback, Shruti and other students, Sarah, Shanvi, thank you so much. So ensure that you implement what you learned today, and I will be back with the day two. I will be putting the timings of the day two on the WhatsApp group. What exactly will be the time slots of the day two live webinar? So you can watch that live as well. So I will be communicating the time and sharing the Zoom link with you over the WhatsApp group. Thank you so very much for participating in the first day of the webinar to success for June 22 exams. I am your tutor, Kashif Kamran, signing off from the first day. Wish you the very best of luck for your upcoming exams. Take care, and I'll see you back tomorrow with the day two. Goodbye, and Allah Hafiz, all of you.